Hi, this is Elizabeth Lasuen, Head of Sales and Marketing at Fesia Technology. I welcome you to this webinar about our Fesia Walk device. We are quite new at hosting webinars, so please excuse us if we have any issues along this presentation. I would like to thank you all for your interest in our company and products, especially under the exceptional circumstances we are living these days. However, our company is 100% active and we are all working from our homes as has been established by the Spanish authorities. The main purpose of this webinar is to provide you with a basic understanding of what Fesia Walk is. We will also provide you some background about the company as well as the evidence supporting FES. My colleague Irene Escudero will be aiding us with the streaming and questions part. Our CEO, Aritz Zabaleta, will introduce Fesia Walk to you, and Aitor Martin Odriozola, the Clinical Applications Manager, will talk about evidence and related matters. If you want to send us any questions about the presentation, do not hesitate using the chat for that. So let's start with what Fesia Technology is. Fesia Technology is a spin-off from Tecnalia Research and Innovation, the second biggest research organization in Spain, with over 1,500 researchers working in different sectors, but with a dedicated unit for neurorehabilitation technologies. Our facilities are located in the Technology Park in San Sebastián, at the Atlantic coast of Spain, 20 kilometers away from the French border. In 2010, Tecnalia received funds for different projects in the field of neurorehabilitation, and since very promising outcomes were delivered, it was decided to establish a company that could convert the findings into patents and later into commercial products. This already happened in 2016, and in 2018, the ISO certification, the CE marking, the permits authorizations for manufacturing were obtained, and the industrial activity and the sales were started. Today, Fesia products can be found in over 15 countries due to the expansion and the cooperation with sales experts in different countries and the adoption of the technology by the professional community. Due to the fact that we come from a research organization, scientific evidence is key in all we do. I would like to mention the PhD thesis, patents, multiple publications in journals, studies, etc. All these support our claims. Now, Aritz Zabaleta, our CEO, will continue this presentation, starting with the history of FES.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this webinar from my side also. I'm the Aritz Zabaleta, the CEO of the company, as Elizabeth told you. Regarding the FES timeline, it's the FES and the electrical origin of the contraction of the muscles and our neurological structure is very old, so it's from very late 18th century, and afterwards it was kind of controlled by Faraday, and but it was not until mid 60s where it was thought that this electrical impulse and the artificial control of the muscular contraction could be used for therapeutic goals or with a therapeutic target. So basically, there are, of course, FES-based systems. In that sense, we did not invent anything new. It's a very old technology. It's a very well-known technology in the application of therapies in spinal cord injuries, in applications that afterwards I thought will go deeper into. But what and how do we contribute to this kind of devices. First of all, you see that our electrode is a very different one. So we have not only just one electrode, one anode, and one cathode that you have to place carefully in a given point in the body. We have one single electrode that comprises in a Fesia Walk system 16 areas, 16 small areas, and each of them can be controlled individually, either manually or automatically. So we thought when developing this technology, having always in mind the usability of the systems, that we could develop products that would be well better in terms of usability, where the donning and doffing processes could take much less time. Of course, we have smaller electrodes, so we have a higher selectivity in the muscles that we want to stimulate, which means that the functional outcome that we create either in the foot, the dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, we can mimic a much more natural way of moving the limb or the articulation, and a higher adherence to the treatment. So if the systems are easier to use, if our systems are take into account the client, the final patient, and it is really usable, they tend to adhere more to the treatment. So with this, we can create more intense therapies. So if we develop devices that the patient can bring home and use it at home intensively through a couple of hours or 3 or 4 hours a day, then we can create a higher and more intensive therapies. And one important thing is that we created also a technology that from the very beginning we thought and we knew that one of the future trends of the rehabilitation would be the integration of more than one technology in the therapy. I'm talking about virtual reality, I'm talking about gamification of the therapies, I'm talking about, of course, exoskeletons. We created a firmware technology that it can be integrated easily in those third-party devices. And at the end, we will see how it differs to not to these technologies, not to the competence, but yes, to the very old AFO that everybody know. Okay, so going to the next slide. Our first product was launched in December 2018, and it's the Fesia Walk system. As you can see already in the picture, it's a very nice device. Not nice just because it looks nice or the shapes are. It comes well packaged so that it can be stored there. So everything was thought from the very beginning in terms of usability, in order to the patient to make easier the donning and usage of the system. So you can see there that it comes in a case, and it can be controlled by an external PC. Well, the product comprises, first of all, of course, the stimulator. There is a sensor that you put in the shoe or on the shoe. And of course, it had some garment and the electrode to place the system on the shank. Okay, so the most remarkable aspects, and I will go deeper afterwards, but the most remarkable aspects are, first of all, we have a multi-field technology that we can create a more natural dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, so more natural gait pattern. The importance of the plantar flexion It will be tackled by Aitor in the next section. Of course, it's a totally wireless system, so there's simply no wires. The connectivity is done via Bluetooth through your cell phone or tablet PC, and it adapts to different situations, which means that we have a sensor-based triggering system. So we rely on the foot movement to predict what the patient is going to do or what the patient wants to do, which makes the system much more robust in a very different conditions. So basically going upstairs or going downstairs, or even in very sharp turns, 180 turns, or walking backwards even, or sideways. So we know every moment what the patient is doing, and therefore we have a much more robust algorithm of when to trigger on the plantar flexion and the dorsiflexion. So the conception of the product is twofold. First, we are thinking on a product that is thought for the therapy, so for the clinicians and for its use of in therapeutic treatments. So in that sense, you only would need one single system to apply for both left and right affected patients, which is a huge advantage. Basically, the costs are the half, so you only need one system to treat both left and right patients. And this is handled by a tablet PC, where the PC has the list of patients and so on. I will go deeper in that afterwards. But after we saw that also this kind of system, which was very much used by the patients, and we also have a patient version of the same system. So basically, instead of having two electrodes, the Multipack electrode is, instead of needing to apply two electrodes to stimulate the tibial nerve, you want to place the whole electrode just below your patella, and the system will automatically detect which area needs to be activated in order to create the optimum outcome, so optimum dorsiflexion in this case. So the configuration can be done both manually or automatically. So basically what we saw in the very early research back in 2016, it was that the optimal stimulation point in order to have an optimal dorsiflexion could change from one day to another. And of course it changes from one patient to another, even within centimeters. So we needed to have some kind of technology that could cover the whole area where, of course, the optimal stimulation point will be. And then we needed an automatic calibration process that could find the optimal point for that given day, for that given patient. This is done in a fully automatic way. You place the sensor, you stimulate what the system stimulates automatically or selects one area. This area provokes a dorsiflexion, and then it changes from one stimulation point to the next one until it finds the optimal stimulation point. Okay, this is done both in the Fesia Walk application, in the Fesia Pro application, and in the My Walk application. Both have this functionality. What makes really the difference between the My Walk application and the Fesia Pro application is the capability that the Fesia Pro application is much more complete. basically you have a list of patients, and when patient A comes, you select that patient, and the parameters that were optimal for that patient are already uploaded to the application and sent automatically to the stimulator. When the patient B comes, you create a new session for that patient, and so that the application can handle different patients, and you can see, of course, then the reports of that patient and so on. The MyWalk application does not have this functionality. It's a much more simple application. It's thought for personal use, so there's no different profiles. The advanced settings are a little bit more hidden. So it's a small variant of the application, but it's optimized for a cell phone. So basically, you can have your cell phone and you can basically use the application yourself. So in the Fesia Walk application, we have different protocols. So we have the training protocol and the gait protocol. In the training protocol, you can stimulate the different areas. You can, this is thought, for example, for chronic patients that did not have for a very long time any stimulation at all, so that they adapt to the sensation of the electrical stimulation, but also for the acute or subacute patients. So maybe the subacute patients are still in bed, they do not have balance control, but you already can start using the Fesia Walk system in a passive way, so that when the time comes where they can walk, then they can start already from day one using the system in the gait protocol. So basically what the gait protocol is, it relies the control of the system to the sensor, and then you can switch off your tablet application. There's no need either for the Fesia Walk, Fesia Pro or MyWalk application. So basically the system is autonomous and the system decides when to start the stimulation. So basically during the swing phase, it will stimulate prior to the swing phase, it will stimulate during the propulsion phase, it will stimulate the plantar flexion. And during the swing phase, it will stimulate the dorsiflexion. So, I'm sorry. There are also some advanced settings. So for the advanced users that know which effect these parameters have in the dorsiflexion, they are easy to tune. You just have to control the frequency, the pulse width, pulse duration, and so on. And they are very, very easy to tune. But the system already provides you with a preliminary solution. Okay, so easiness of use, priority number one, but you still can tune very easily the advanced options. So we still have some remarkable aspects. You can record some videos with the Fesia Pro application. You have your patient, you can record the patient, and afterwards you can compare those videos for prior sessions and to see how the patient is evolving. Also, the duration of the sessions are saved, the number of pulses, the intensities are saved from one session to another, so that you can track the evolution of the patient and you can track the evolution of those parameters throughout within time. So at the end, you have a report for that given patient, and you can read and make some decisions under your criteria, of course. So, and finally, for those that are not so, keen or did not use FES so much time, just a short remembering. We of course provide, the FES provides many advantages comparing to the AFO, to the standard passive AFO. All of them come from the fact that the patient is using its own body to lift the foot. Basically, you are increasing the blood flow, you are contracting the muscle, and this derives in many benefits for the patients. The bone density is increased, and of course, many aspects of the gait parameters are also improved. So, in certain aspects, there are comparable aspects like benefits on the gait parameters and so on, but we are thinking on a rehabilitation device that you also improve the overall health, not just some parameters of the gait. And in that sense, the FES system has many benefits. Okay, so I pass the word to our colleague Aitor Martin, our clinical applications manager, who will go deeper in some of the clinical aspects. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aritz. Thank you, Elisabeth. I am Aitor Martin Adriozola, and as my colleagues have said to you, I am the clinical applications manager of Fesia Technology. In the next few slides, I am going to give a short summary of the scientific evidence available today about the use of FES for the treatment of foot drop. Nowadays, there are more than 70 clinical trials studying the effects of FES treatment in patients with drop foot, being the most studied disease, the stroke, with more than 40 published papers, followed by multiple sclerosis, spinal cord injury, and cerebral palsy. There are many outcomes that have been measured in the studies, but the most repeated one is the walking speed, where increases up to 38.7% have been seen. There were also improvements in the dorsal flexion, in the foot progression, and in many other gait parameters. The spasticity of the plantar flexors decreases by 38.3%, and the strength of the dorsal flexors increases by 58.6%. Biomechanical improvements in the less affected leg and in the arm swing have also been seen. Finally, large improvements in neurophysiological indicators of neurological recovery, which are very important, have been described, such as motor evoked potentials and maximum voluntary contractions. There were also decreases in fatigue and joint pain, especially in patients in which these diseases are very usual, for example, in multiple sclerosis. As Aritz has described, one of the highlights of the Fesia Walk system is the possibility to stimulate the plantar flexion, which is optional. This characteristic allows a better gait restoration as well as a wider range of treatment possibilities. Starting by this last point, stimulating the plantar flexion, the FES treatment in acute phases takes a very important role. The alternate stimulation of both dorsal and plantar flexion simulates a physiological gait pattern, sending correct inputs to the CNS from the beginning. Two aspects justify the better gait restoration. First, as explained before, it allows a better neuronal plasticity since it sends electrical signals to the brain and to the central pattern generators, which are usually mentioned in this literature, as they would be sent in a non-pathological gait pattern. Secondly, the gait function improves. For example, the propulsion in take-off phase increases. It equals the hip movement in different directions, and it also normalizes the knee flexion, which is usually decreased or increased in these patients. Finally, it has been shown that there are significant reductions in spasticity and stretch reflexes of the plantar flexors by stimulating these muscles. Now, before we move on the questions, sorry, it's the dog, we are going to watch a video of a use case from our YouTube channel, where we are continually including new materials.
Okay, so now if you have any questions, please ask it through the chat.
So please feel free to ask anything either through the chat this moment, or you can always, we are always available in our info@fesiatechnology.com. I will wait some seconds. We had some questions regarding clinical applications and details in the product in the past webinars. So okay, what if the patient doesn't have any standing stability? Well, the system, I will turn on my video. Irene, okay, thank you. Well, if the patient does not have any standing stability, there are two cases: either he or she can walk with crutches or any other gait aid system. There is no contraindication with that, but the patient, in order to use the system in the gait protocol, so basically in an autonomous way, the patient does need to have some capability, ambulatory capabilities. So he needs to be able, with or without crutches, to be able to walk. With the Fesia Pro application, does not need any gait capabilities. So you are using the system in a training mode. Basically, the system is continuously stimulating your tibialis anterior nerve, and which makes also brain activation, and there are many benefits with it already. So for acute patients, there's this training protocol, and for patients with gait capabilities, they can use the system in the gait mode or autonomous mode. Yeah, I think that's everything. Again, feel free, please, to forward our questions in our email, and if there's no any further question, we finalize this webinar. So I thank you very much, and I invite you to assist also the next webinar we are going to provide in our Fesia grasp system, the similar system but much more complex, and for upper limb rehabilitation, that will be held on Thursday, so tomorrow at 11 a.m. Thank you very much.